How's it going, everybody? Hope you're well, and welcome back to Music with Michelle, and welcome to my first reaction to the brand new Travis Scott album, Utopia. Been waiting a long time for this one, so let's not waste any more time and get straight into it. Before we do that though, I will be doing a tier list throughout this video, but I'll explain that more when we get to it. But yeah, let's get straight into the first song, which is called HYAENA.
The situation we are in at this time, neither a good one, nor is it someone blessed. It can change, it can stay the same.
This shit is out of control. I'm driving through hell and I done brought snow. It's shining in here and I done brought gold. Write a show by myself like I'm Chelsea Handler, or write a series by my bitches like I'm Kelsey Grammer. Nigga, your model stances, you everything I know about it.
Already this sounds really raw, which is, I'm actually quite a big fan of that choice actually.
C knows, B knows, I took the biggest boat. We stayed down for life. It's like a jingle to do them all. Get part and we done lit up every setup. Told the preacher I'm never finished, that's to say the least. Buy it, never lease it, but I got a lease. A mobile Mona type of pieces, Met Gala night, Jesus. Know about it, 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 know about it.
Okay, so that was the first song, HYAENA, but as I mentioned at the start, I will be doing the tier list throughout this video. I always do these in my reactions. I feel like it's a great way to give like a visual representation of how I feel about a song immediately after listening to it. So yeah, I'm sure you know how a tier list works, but in case you don't, pretty much the lower the tier, it means the less I like the song. So as you can see, the bottom tier there is miss. That means that I flat out just don't like the song at all. I don't think there's any good qualities about it. I think it's just a terrible song. One above that is not for me. That's for when, you know, the song might be alright, but it's just not really my, you know, I'm not really clicking with it. One above that is re-listen. Sometimes it takes a few listens to really grasp a song and, you know, understand if you really like it or not. One above that is straight into my playlist. Pretty much that means that I like the song and I want to keep listening to it. I'll add it to my everyday listening playlist. And then at the very top of the tier, we have 90210. The top tier pretty much represents my favorite Travis Scott songs. So I picked 90210. It was quite hard to pick just one song because he does have so many that I do like, but 90210 is one of my favorites from Travis Scott. So if any of these songs go into that tier, it means that I feel like it's one of his best songs. You know, it's on the caliber of the likes of 90210. So yeah, that's the tier list. And yeah, let's get into the first song, which is HYAENA. I thought it was a very interesting start, really set the pace for what the album's going to be like, I feel. And I really do love that juxtaposition in this beat, particularly with the sort of distorted bass and then that string section as well that was happening in the background. I think it created a really cool sound and it kind of kept the beat fresh throughout the song. Some great flows in there as well, but honestly, it's just really nice to hear from Trav again because it's been a few years since he's released Astroworld, the last project. Last year, he dropped a couple of singles with Escape Plan and Mafia, but we've not really heard from him for quite a while, so it's just really nice to hear him back. And yeah, like I said, a really cool start to the album. That end part as well was very reminiscent of the ending of like Heist in the Room, which is another one of my favorites from Trav. But yeah, I really like the sort of tone that this song has set because I don't really know what to expect from this album because it has been so long since Astroworld, so it could go in any direction really, but I think that's a very strong start to begin with. In terms of the actual song itself, I've got to say I was feeling it straight away. I was feeling it, so I would probably say my initial impression is that it's probably gonna go straight to my playlist. Yeah, big fan of that song. All right, let's move on to song number 2, which is called Thank God.
I won't doubt it, he won't mislead all his followers. Praying on the process, mind and spirit. One life, live it right now.
I bet that sounded a bit like Kanye West in the vocals there in the background.
Trying his best, top of the pole, me and my bros. Still no pressure, thank God I breathe. Cause shit I speak is what they need, I tell. Yeah. Last day was filled over slaps, I guess gotta run this shit back. Didn't like the way this shit went down after awards, I admit it, it turned to a beast. My quarterback calls, I don't like 12 except Tom Brady. Shit so lit, what happened in Vegas and stay in Vegas.
Okay, that was number 2, Thank God. And once again, it's following that sort of distorted sound, which I really love. Like, that's such a really cool sound, you know. Obviously heavily influenced in the past by like Kanye West and Yeezus. That was like the first real hip-hop album to, you know, a massive successful album that utilized that sort of technique. But we've seen a lot of that in Travis Scott in the past, but it's really cool to see it being used so early on here. And I thought I could hear some Kanye vocals in the background. I just looked, it turns out it was produced by Kanye, which makes a lot of sense. You can definitely hear his influence on this song. Yeah, I'm really happy to see Kanye producing as well, because he's got this knack of making these type of beats that are almost like ethereal, but also, yeah, that use of distortion just creates like a really unique sound. In terms of the song, you know, a lot of lyrics in there about, you know, obviously thanking God and being appreciative for the life he lives. A really great beat switch in there as well, which I'm hoping we see a lot more of that on this album. I've got to say though, we're 2 songs in and I'm very impressed so far. Again, I wasn't too sure what to expect from this, but so far a really solid start. But I don't think you could go wrong with a Travis Scott and Kanye collaboration. So for that reason, I'm going to put it straight to my playlist as well. Yeah, really great start. And let's move on to number 3. Okay, at number 3 we have Modern Jam. I'm going to let it transition, because it sounds like it's going to carry on from here. Already spoke about the sort of Yeezus influence I'm already hearing just 3 songs in, but this one is really reminiscent of like Send It Up.
I know you lying outside waiting in line, getting down one at a time. Before she let me in, she gotta pat me now.
That was number 3, Modern Jam, and that was a really cool fusion between quite a number of different genres actually. Had those housey elements, but also combined it with that distortion that we've already spoke about. And yeah, that's why I think it has that Yeezus vibe to it, is because that's what the album did so well, is it sort of fused many different types of music together. And this one here, it didn't start off like a hip-hop, traditional hip-hop song, you know. It didn't sound like a Travis Scott song. We haven't really heard anything like that, but I think that is really quite unique. And it felt familiar, but also a standalone song. Like, it had its own identity for the song, but the actual music itself felt very familiar, whilst also taking a very different path and trying something quite new. I think that's a very hard thing to do, but I think he nailed it here. It's one of those songs I feel like people who don't necessarily listen to a lot of hip-hop and rap music could probably enjoy, especially like on a night out in a club or something like that. I feel like that's something that people could easily listen to and identify with, and not necessarily go, oh yeah, that sounds like a Travis Scott song. So I think that's a really good thing to have in an album, to have that diversity and to have that, especially in your discography as well, to have songs like this that sort of divert into different genres, and you can just almost prove then that you can go into different types of music and still make a very solid song, whilst also having those typical things you look for in a hip-hop song. So it makes it, again, identifiable for people who like to listen to Travis Scott, and then introduce a whole new audience. And I feel like that's something that Drake tried to do with like Honestly Nevermind, and that's what initially reminded me of at the start with the beat, is it sounded a bit like something like that. But whereas I feel like Drake didn't get it right, Travis, I feel like on this song Trav did get it right, and I feel like, yeah, it's a really cool song. I don't think obviously we're gonna have like a whole album like we did with Drake of songs like that, but yeah, to have songs like this which easily fit within the flow of the album, but whilst also bringing something completely new to the table, I think that's a great thing. I really like the flow on here as well, very reminiscent of sort of old Kanye or Yeezus Kanye, and no auto-tune as well, which was really, from what I could hear, there's no real, it wasn't heavy auto-tune, which is great to hear. A couple of Kendrick references in there as well. Yeah, it's one of those beats where I feel like Kanye or Andre 3000 would do really well on here. But you can really hear that influence from like I Am a God send it up. I think Travis Scott has spoke quite a lot about how influential that album was to him starting his whole career, so it's kind of cool to see it be paid homage here. Almost it's been 10 years I think since that album came out, so yeah, really cool start. I'm loving it so far, and I'd have to say Modern Jam once again I think goes straight into the playlist. Very solid start. Let's get into number 5, which is called God's Country.
Spread it on my seat, 10,000 on my eye. I was sworn in by a kiss. Right from the country kid, there's no peace maker. I sweep up cases. 3-time they gave me teen, still save on AT&T. Every time we meet naive.
It's mad how I got so deep. It's mad how I got so high. It's mad how you get me high.
That's Sampha. But that was Sampha. It sounded like Sampha.
Look in my eyes, tell me your tale. Do you see the road? I'm out to my soul. Tell me the size whenever the smoke clear out of my face. And my picture perfect, do I look fried? Around me if they just knew what Scotty would do to jump out the stage and say I'm a child. If these are taking from zero to flame, you saying I'm ready for miles. The shit wasn't luck, they got me fucked up. I put you on bus and take you around. That shit wild. I stand on the stage, I give them the rage, I'm turning it down. Contain can't foul, we do in the streets. We do it for keys, we do it for rights. I'm 52 weeks, this shit ain't for pleasure, I'm coming to tweak. This shit is forever, infinity, no but hey, we write it and wrap it around. I take smarter the least, and I bought some more ice, cause I bought it and he made a cast on my dish, so she never go cheat. If I gave you a day in my life or a day in my eyes, don't blink.
That flow was crazy. I think I said before the song that was called God's Country, but it's actually My Eyes. That was my bad. But I have to say, I think that song there, yeah, I think easily my favorite song I've heard from Travis in a very long time. As someone who really loves that sort of indie, alternative, dream poppy, folky sort of sound, you know, the likes of like Lord Huron and Gregory Alan Isakov, to have that sort of influence in this song was just really cool to see, because I can't say I've heard a lot of that before, you know, in terms of bringing that kind of genre into it. There's a lot of early Drake stuff, like he's got a song called Let's Call It Off, which kind of tried to do like a indie rap hybrid sort of thing, and then obviously we had the Kid Cudi Speeding Bullet to Heaven where he tried to make a grunge rap album, whatever, and it just doesn't work. But this does work. Really cool to see this kind of song be put on a Travis Scott album. And yeah, we're only 4 songs in, but it's been so many blends of different genres. I suppose this one is more akin to something like Frank Ocean. It kind of felt a little bit more like that. And it's very reminiscent of like a mid-2000s indie album sort of song you'd hear, to then have that blended in the second part with this really cool beat switch. Quite a tame beat, nothing too crazy, but the flow in the second half of this song was unbelievable. Like he was on something for that last part. Like that was absolutely crazy. He didn't breathe, he didn't stop. It was just relentless. And I thought I heard Sampha throughout this song, and yeah, I just looked at it. Turns out he is there. But what's also interesting, I didn't know, is that this song also had Bon Iver in there, which explains the indie, dream poppy, folky influence on there. Bon Iver obviously known for songs like Skinny Love, and we have seen Bon Iver before. I'm pretty sure he was quite heavily involved with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think I'm correct in saying that. So we have seen him on here before, kind of similar how like someone like James Blake is kind of shifted from being that sort of more poppy kind of singer to then going into hip-hop and stuff like that. Bon Iver's also been quite involved for quite a while, but yeah, great to see him on here as well, and you can definitely hear that influence. I didn't know he was actually on it because Travis Scott's doing that thing again where he doesn't list the features on his songs like he did on Astro World, which I think is a bit weird because it doesn't really give credit to the feature, but at the same time it is his own album, so you know, he can do what he wants really. But yeah, great to see Bon Iver on here, and hopefully we can see more of him as well, because I love that influence. I love that combination, that blending of genres. In terms of the tier, you know, I said that, you know, 90210, one of my favorite songs. If a song goes in the top tier, it means that it is on par with one of my favorite Travis Scott songs. And while I don't necessarily think this song's as good as 90210, because that is an unbelievable song, plus it's had like all these years for me to listen to it and appreciate it, I will say that it is one of my favorites that I've heard from Travis Scott, and I will put it in the top tier. It had a very similar structure to 90210 because that also did incorporate a lot of different sort of musical techniques that you hear from different genres. So it's very alike in that sort of way, but two very different songs, I think. But yeah, my eyes, my favorite I've heard on this album so far, probably my favorite I've heard from Travis Scott for a very, very long time. Yeah, a really great start to this album so far. I'm really liking where it's going. And let's move on to song number 5, which is called God's Country.
Watching it. Only one ain't watching it. Yeah, it ain't up to you no more. Waking up, I see the light. I've been drunk and it's alright. It's demon time, I got it on me. Might earn a teardrop overnight. The car black and you know it got a sky limit. The butterfly reflect the doors. Need more spaces when we jam. In God's country with the fam.
Yeah, that's number 5, God's Country, and I'll probably say just from the get-go, I wasn't really the biggest fan of that one. Didn't really grab me straight away. I understand the need in a 19-song album to have songs like that, which are a bit more, you know, a bit more low-key, a bit more chilled out, because you can't have 19 songs that all sound the same. So I get, in terms of the flow of the album, why a song like this is necessary, but for me it didn't really bring anything to the table. Not saying it was a bad song, I don't think there was anything wrong with it. It didn't really have any standout real features for me, apart from, I don't want to keep saying it, but apart from the Kanye West influence, because yeah, there was a lot of heavy Kanye in here as well. I think despite that though, I think I am going to put it in re-listen, because like I said, there wasn't anything I really didn't like about it. It was just more that it didn't grab me as much as the other 4 have, and I think after those 4 songs were so solid, you know, this one just fell a little bit short of the mark. But standalone, listen to it, you know, on its own, not in the context of the album, might be a different listening experience. So I'll put it in re-listen for now. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's my favorite on the album so far. I'll probably say it's the weakest. Yeah, I feel like it didn't really go anywhere. It could have had like a feature on here, maybe. Like it would have been perfect for a Kanye feature, for example. But yeah, let's get on to number 6, which is called Sirens.
To spread out the word, I was too damn determined. Rap game needed refurbished. I was up top with no service. Watches and art playing verses. Got a couple departments. Closet built like a department. Double a cup of the purpose. We still do things down to detail. Festy, be all. I got your attention. It's wide and beating. Vow this evening. You never leaving. From 2 a.m. to 2 in the afternoon. It's a festival right in my room. So 3.2, that's a whole lot of it is live. Remember days that I couldn't get by. Sometimes I be in denial. I know sometimes I be in the wild. High rockin' if.
We were going to Utopia.
What makes you say this isn't Utopia?
I mean, I don't know. Isn't it supposed to be some perfect destination? This is just your hotel room.
Yeah, it looks perfect to me.
All right, I have a feeling that the next song is gonna have Drake on it, because I'm pretty sure that's Drake right at the end there. But before we get to that one, yeah, this was Sirens, and I've got to say that's a very confusing song, but I think I actually really liked it. One thing I haven't really spoke about so far is the production. Like so far, the production here has been unbelievable, which is what you'd expect from a Travis Scott album. And then a song like this, which has so many different elements in it as well. I'd love to know what samples, I'm going to check in a second, but what samples were used in this song, because yeah, I really love the instrumentation on here. That guitar part in the background that was going throughout out. That was unbelievable. And there was a part right at the end which I really recognize it, but I can't put my finger on what it's from. You know, it sounded very like beach housey, you know, which we've seen Kendrick use in the past, or a bit like Men I Trust, which Joey Badass has used in the past as well. Sampling a band, like again, that sort of, call it dream poppy indie alternative sound. But yeah, this one was just a massive mishmash of different genres and slightly confusing at times, went a lot of different places, but I thought it was really cool. I did think it was really cool. Just different, again, I don't want to keep saying it, but it does have that Yeezus feel to it, where it's just, you know, it's just so much happening, but it's working, you know. I feel like it's very easy to do this and get it wrong. I don't know, there's something about it that it's just, it does sound like it's probably is the production. It just does feel like a very solid song, despite the fact that it's going in so many places. It doesn't feel like it's diverting too much from the original point of the song, but at the same time, it's just encapsulating all these different genres. But yeah, I think just the production is the standout for me on this song. The influence that you can clearly hear from people, the different types of genres. But I think also what I really like as well from what we've heard so far, 6 songs in or 5 songs in, whatever it is, 6 songs, is that it kind of does feel like a mash of all the previous Travis Scott stuff. Like at the start, you know, it sounds like his very early days, his EP days. Then it sounds like this one was quite more reminiscent of like Rodeo. I feel like a lot of these songs kind of fit the more Rodeo vibe, which I feel like is a great direction to go, because that album was fantastic. Yeah, Sirens, I'd say I wasn't too sure halfway through it, the first part or whatever, but the more it went on, the more I liked it. So I think for that reason, I feel like the more I listen to it, the more I will start to enjoy it even more. So yeah, I would say it's gonna go straight to my playlist. I think it's a really cool song. Production's the standout part for me. Great instrumentation. Kind of sound like a lot of Mike Dean on here as well. You know, every time you hear like a synthy guitar sound on a rap song, you just presume that it's probably Mike Dean, but I'm sure he's on here somewhere. But yeah, really great song there. And let's move on to the next song, which I'm pretty sure does have Drake on it. I'm sure that was Drake right at the end. So yeah, this could be the first Drake feature of the album. Yeah, this song is number 7, Meltdown.
Yeah,
definitely Drake.
Tensions is definitely rising. Teed up right now. Tea time. Tea time. Tea time, tea time, tea time. Tea time like I got a cup of this shit. Tea time like golf at 5:45. Talk to the cops on some therapist shit. You act like you love this American shit, but really the truth is you're scared of the 6. The 6, your bodyguard put in some work on the flute. Now you wanna go and inherit the shit. Don't talk the shit like TV producers. We airing the shit. She asking, I pull out $1 million to stare at the shit. My dick just got hard cause a wire just hit. My schedule's out, come spin us for real. Man, fuck all that spinning the narrative shit. Lucky that Vogue was suing, cause I would've been with the Wassers in Paris and shit.
Is you fucking crazy? Is you fucking crazy? And they scared of the 7. After 1-3, then we turn up 11. What's at stake? I'm screaming free Jeffrey. Collect calls right off of the celly. Gave her the blues, not talking about belly. Don't keep in the cheese. Wrap around me cause I'm got property. Chocolate AP and chocolate the V's.
Yeah, is you fucking crazy? 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 Is you fucking crazy?
Swinging in the pickup truck, baby fuck Mercedes. Little boy going Lionel Messi, I go Tom Brady. Now I let the chain say you gotta tuck yours, maybe. Niggas talking Scarface, I'm not in real life. Is you fucking crazy? Is you fucking crazy? Huh? Is you fucking crazy? Is you fucking crazy?
Okay, that was number 7, Meltdown. Of course, that was Drake as the feature there. We've seen Drake and Travis Scott loads of times in the past. Fair Trade on Certified Lover Boy, Pussy and Millions on Her Loss, and of course, last album, Astro World, Sicko Mode. I've got to say though, I wasn't really the biggest fan of Drake's feature on this one. It's kind of a bit weird. I kind of saw what he was trying to do with it, and I just don't think it really worked very well. But I will say that because of that, I thought Travis Scott's parts were amplified, and he just sounded so good on this song. Whereas Drake, I don't feel like really sounded that great. I think Travis Scott sounded fantastic, especially the second part of the song, that final beat, that was unbelievable. That was very reminiscent actually of the beat switch in Sicko Mode, where it went from Travis Scott to Drake, and whereas now it's almost like flipped, where Travis has got this beat which was reminiscent of the second part of Sicko Mode. But yeah, he went off on that one. Like the ending as well, an actual use of a natural guitar on a hip-hop album I'll always love, so big fan of that. Yeah, overall I think it's a really good song, but I'm just not too sure on the Drake feature, to be honest. Yeah, maybe that Drake verse might grow on me, but I think initially my initial impression is that I feel like he was really outshined by Travis Scott, so yeah, I'll have to listen to it again to really gauge it. But yeah, I feel like this is pretty much Sicko Mode version 2, you know, that's what it really felt like. Has a very similar structure apart from the roles were reversed. I feel like this one's gonna be very popular. I think people will definitely like it, and I've got to say I really did like it as well, so it's gonna go straight into my playlist. Okay, next up we have number 8, which is called Theme.
Just come outside for the night. Take your time, get your life. Got it down. The career's more at stake when you in your prime. Fuck that paper, baby, my face on the dotted line. Just want a peace of mind. I've been focused on the future, never on right now. Do shit to you right now. Oh my God, that be babe, well alright.
Wait, Carti in the chorus.
Wait.
Watch me pop my shit, get it live. Hold up, yeah, you try to come around this shit, they popping your tires. Hold up, shit. She not in the scene, she just tryna go. I just been icing my hoes, I just been dripping my hoes. I got flows for days, niggas ain't on nothing. Why the fuck these niggas acting like they know it? Everything hit,
Alright, that was number 8, Fiend, and that song did go hard, but I literally spent the whole time trying to figure out if that was Carti or not. Like, I couldn't really put a finger on it because it sounded different. It sounded quite like a bit deeper. I think that was Carti. I'll look in a minute to see if he actually is credited, but it sounded like Carti. And I think the other one there was Sheck West as well. I don't think his feature really brought anything to it. But yeah, no, a really cool song. Can't really go wrong with a Carti feature if that was him. But I can definitely see this one being very popular as well. Like, especially, I imagine, like live, this one will go crazy. And yeah, you can't really go wrong with a Travis Carti feature. Something we don't really hear too much of. But now this one went hard. So yeah, I just checked and it was Carti. And yeah, but the interesting thing from that song was Travis doing more high-pitched voice, or doing more high-pitched vocals, and then Playboi Carti doing the opposite, where it's a bit deeper. So yeah, very interesting. Sort of a different cadence that we're used to with Playboi Carti. So he might be stepping out of his comfort zone a little bit, but overall, just thought it was a very solid song. Nothing too crazy about it. Just a really cool beat. Catchy as well. It's probably the first song on here that's been properly catchy, like repeating that word fiend is very catchy. So yeah, big fan of this one actually. And yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll put Fiend straight into my playlist, which is becoming quite a common thing at the minute. But yeah, we're nearly halfway through the album. So far, really solid. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9 is called DELRESTO Echoes.
Statues in the next room, billions in escrow, bulletproof the whole thing, ignore the dress code, step into the ballroom, start to let go, things that never give life.
Is that Beyonce?
I can see the echoes.
It sounds like Beyonce.
Trying to see something.
Oh yeah, that's Beyonce.
At times from miles I see your face. Your time. Breakfast in the morning, my nights is a normal. Advice ain't informal. I did try to warn you before they went swarm you. Be in front of the fool.
Yeah, that was number 9, DELRESTO, and I'm not really too sure how to feel about that song. My initial impression, I'm not really too sure how I feel, but I will say that I was not expecting Beyonce to be on this album, so that was a big surprise. She sounded great, but I really wasn't expecting her to be on this album. Kind of took me a couple of goes to be like, is that actually Beyonce? Yeah, it's a bit of a weird crossover I wasn't expecting, but she sounded great. Yeah, I'm sure this one is going to be very popular because it's Beyonce and bringing that whole fan base over. And again, it's one of those songs, you know, it's quite clever from Travis, I think, because it didn't divert too much into what Travis Scott's kind of more known for. So once all those Beyonce fans who do flock over to this song and start listening to it, it's more of a more recognizable song, despite the fact that I feel like yeah, it felt a bit more like a housey vibe to it. Admittedly, I haven't listened to every Beyonce album, but I don't associate Beyonce with this kind of music, so I feel like it would be a very easy transition for the Beyonce fans to listen to. But yeah, I'm not too sure how to feel about it. I feel like I might need to listen to it a few more times because, yeah, a bit like the previous song, I was just a bit shocked that Beyonce was on here. But again, the production sounded really, really great. Nothing wrong with the song at all. Maybe went on a little bit too long, but yeah, I don't really have a strong opinion either way at the moment. So I think for that reason, I will put DELRESTO into re-listen because, yeah, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but nothing at the minute. You know, I feel like I might need a few more listens to really gauge how I feel about it. But yeah, again, another really solid song. I don't think there has been a song on this album yet which I thought wasn't great. Just the two that are re-listen, I feel like I just need to give another go, maybe 2 or 3 more times. But judging by how the album's going so far, I feel like this album will be on repeat for a while. So they will definitely get the chance for me to listen to them again. But yeah, let's move on to song number 10. And song number 10 is called I Know.
Tell me, is you still love? It's 5 a.m. and I'm drunk right now. Tell me, can we still fuck? And I know. But then again, I can be drunk. Baby, I don't wanna sound righteous. I got 20 bitches sucking like bisons. I just any mini money roll a dice since I pick. I fit it, yeah. Girl, I fit it, yeah. Oh, you think you got your groove? Or you want someone like you? Oh, I lied to way before. Again, I can be drunk. Yeah, I know, mommy, I know. It's 2 a.m. don't stress. At 3, that bullshit kick in. Nipping and slide through the streets. It takes a finesse, especially in this cabaret Jeep. Engine make it hard to creep. Just leave the gate open. Through the side door, I'm a creep. Are you 101? I'm in the zone right now. Tell me, am I still? Telling you just how I feel right now. You say it's just the drugs, and I know.
Yeah, that was number 10, I Know, and that was very reminiscent of old Trav. You know, I was thinking back to sort of Birds in the Trap era. You know, it wasn't nothing too crazy about that song. Didn't really go anywhere from where it first started. Kind of stayed on like a steady path throughout. But I feel like it was very solid. It was probably the most song on here that felt the most Travis Scott-like. You know, what we're most familiar with. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I thought it worked really well on this one. I thought the flows are just very, yeah, very typical Travis Scott flows, you know, harmonizing the background as part of the beat. You know, I do love it when Travis makes songs like this. Yeah, this one I definitely really did enjoy it. But the one thing is, because the constant mention of drugs and things like that in this song, it just got me thinking, like, I would really love to hear a song similar to Drugs, You Should Try It. Like, we haven't really heard him do anything like that since, and I would love if there's something on this album that's quite similar to that song. Yeah, I really love the flow on this one. I thought he floated really well on the flow, and although it did remind me of like Birds in the Trap and a little bit of Rodeo as well, kind of reminded me as well of like a song like Coffee Bean, or more recently Mafia, which came out last year. But I really like that one. The more chill, you know, it's one of those songs I feel like could be a very popular song just for the fact that it is a bit different to what else is on this album. But yeah, just a really chill song with that sort of 3 a.m. late night drive vibe to it. So yeah, that one's gonna go straight to my playlist, and let's move straight on to number 11. At number 11, we've got Utopia Twins.
Twin bitches hopping off a jet ski. Yeah!
Yeah, it's so hard to hide. I'm a dog, nigga. I make a mistake and short. Where I shoot my shot at all these hoes, I fuck my shoulder up. Told her throw it back and put that pussy on me.
Told her sit it on his dick, I took the glizzy on me. And you know this life been busy, man, I'm busy. Sitting sideways with a drink while I think Bitches get cold in the summer, keep a meat. Twin bitches hopping off a jet ski.
Twin bitches, 21. Twin Drakes,
hey, 21.
Twin Glocks, twin jets, 21. Charter planes, I don't ride props. Slow, she got some lipo, she got shots, now her ass drop. Slime sitting in a cell, I bet he coming home like Pop. Oh God. He can't bring her phone, ain't no giving out my drop. Rockin' land vans when I step on niggas' blocks. Oh, God. Oh, he think he tough, he just acting, he the rock. Yeah. Amazon Prime, give me 2 days, I bet he drop. Pussy.
Sitting sideways with Blink.
I love this hook. He sounds great on this hook.
If she get too annoying, find a beach. Twin bitches, ski. It's not electric, this shit gassed up. Can you catch it? The Virgin jet ski 10150, check the leverage. The vision ain't no dipping in that ayahuasca. This shit get thicker than the bitch with stripes unless you tell. Hey twin, call her twin, tell her I'm in town now. And she tryna ride me like a wave, I'm a drown. I flew in the town, not to hotel, but to the townhouse. I send the drop, they hit the drop, we brought the drivers out.
All right, that was number 11, Utopia Twins. I gotta say, I love that beat. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like Solitaires from Travis Scott and Future. Yeah, in that song there, we had 21 Savage, and I had to look it up who it was, Rob 49, which admittedly I haven't heard a lot of, but he was quite funny on this song. There were some crazy lyrics in there, and obviously with 21, you've always got, you know, some mad lyrics. There's always some sort of lyric about him getting head or something like that. But yeah, this one was a bit more lighthearted, a bit funny. But I think once again, you know, it's just one of them songs where like, I don't know, it's just 21 Savage on any kind of beat like this, or any beat for that matter. I feel like any song he's in, I know he kind of always has the same flow and he kind of raps about the same sort of things, but he just works. I think he just works, and it's really enjoyable listening to him. He always just like fits on a beat. And yeah, he's always got something funny to say or whatever, but what I did really like, I think the highlight from the whole song for me was probably the hook. I think Travis sounded so good. He had these keys in the background, probably was Mike Dean again, sounded a bit very Mike Dean-y, these synthy keys. And yeah, Travis Scott's melody really suited it really well. He sounded great in that hook, really liked it. That was my favorite part, apart from the actual beat. I think that was my favorite part of the song. Once again, just a really solid song. There's nothing really not to like about it. This one again, yeah, this one's a bit more lighthearted, bit more sort of on the nose. And yeah, because there's nothing to really not like about it. I like the hook, I like the beat, good features as well, funny lyrics, straight to my playlist once again. And then that takes us on to number 12, which is called Circus Maximus.
Unreal, what is this? God done gave me strength. Are these the front row seats you wanted?
Okay, bit of Sway Lee.
We'll have our final moment.
Okay. Is that a guitar I heard?
A walking attraction, a walking distraction. I'm naturally blackened, I'm naturally breathing. Like a waste at a
I feel like some sort of black skinhead's gonna. It's very black skinhead.
Cause it's how we wreak havoc. Yeah, I know when it's drastic. Where it's going. When I back up emotions. Backing up when I'm backing in.
I know our love is forsaken.
Whenever I'm back
or do you wanna be famous?
Yeah. Took the top off, like she took the little blouse off. In this room, look around, yo. It's just mine, we mono. I might still leave McDonald's, but don't think I'm a rhino. Part of it is part of me. Tell your parliament, part of me. Off the socket, turn to Socrates. Whenever I'm back in it.
I'm waiting on a let go. I'm waiting on a let go.
All right, I've got so much to say about this song, so I'm going to try and remember everything I was thinking of during that reaction. But first of all, like, Travis Scott's got like the Avengers together. We've had The Weeknd, Drake, Beyonce, 21. Like, the amount of features on here is crazy, and they're all working very well. I'd say I'm sure we'd hear more from Sway Lee because he kind of had the intro and that was it. He didn't get much airtime, so I'm sure there'll be another song with Sway Lee on it. Otherwise, yeah, he's kind of wasted if he's not used on another song. But yeah, I know like John Denton's going crazy right now. I can bet, you know, The Weeknd coming in sounded fantastic. You know, I'm sure everyone feels the same about The Weeknd, that he probably is the closest thing we've had to like Michael Jackson. I don't think he'll ever reach that level, but he's the vocally, I think he's one of the closest things we've had to MJ. But what I will say though is the influence has kind of, the last few songs haven't really had it, but this one is probably the most heavily Yeezus influenced song, or more specifically Black Skinhead. I've not heard those drums and that sound drums probably since Black Skinhead, and I'd say the only gripe I have with the song, I think it's an amazing song, but the one gripe I have of it is, or two gripes, is one is that it kind of felt more like an interlude, and number two is that he was just like that. It was almost like teasing throughout the whole song. Like I was expecting some crazy Mike Dean guitar solo, like something like we've heard on like Gorgeous or Devil in a New Dress. You know, I was waiting for that Mike Dean guitar to come in, because they kept from what it sounded like to me was that sound in the background that played every couple of beats was like a muted guitar string, and he's like a really distorted guitar, and he's like muting it, that chug chug sound. That's what that sounded like to me. So I was kind of hoping and expecting this crazy guitar sound to come in, which never came, which is fine. But yeah, that's the one gripe I have with it really, is that it didn't really go anywhere really. I was expecting it to sort of explode, and it kind of stayed in that lane where it was almost, yeah, that's why I felt like an interlude, is because it kind of felt like it was just teasing something to happen that never really came. But other than that, yeah, unbelievable song. The production's crazy, yeah, just so heavily Black Skinhead influence. But I feel like this is the kind of music that Travis Scott has wanted to make for quite a long time. Although I feel like obviously Astro World was, you know, a big project, like referencing and paying homage almost to that theme park that he grew up with in Houston, amongst other things. But I feel like this one is that album that he spoke about so much in the past, about, you know, the influence from Kanye West, the fact that Kanye West took him on when he was really young, and he was producing songs from a young age because of Kanye, and he had all that help from him. I feel like this is the closest thing we've got to that homage being paid to him. And yeah, this one is the one that I feel like most heavily influenced. Yeah, I think mostly it's just the drums and the background screaming, all the different elements, but it was such a cool song. I just was waiting for it to go that one level up, just accelerate a little bit more, and I think if it did, I think it would be one of my favorite songs from Travis Scott. But the fact that it kind of didn't take that next step up is fine. It's still an amazing song, but I feel that's what distinguishes between it being like an unbelievable song for me and just being like, you know, like an amazing song that I like. But it could have been one of my favorites. But yeah, I think for that reason that it didn't really go that one step further. I will probably say that I'm just going to put it straight into my playlist. But yeah, some great features on there as well. I'm hoping we hear more from the both of them. Obviously The Weeknd can fit on numerous different types of tracks, but Sway Lee, and he got quite a lot of airtime on this one, but Sway Lee didn't get as much, so maybe we hear more from Sway Lee in the future. But yeah, really great song. Let's move on to number 13. Okay, number 13 is called Parasail.
I stand tall, I fall, I get up, I fall, I get up, I fall, I get up. Riding parasail, rolling through the grass, you was all I need, water moving fast.
I do recognise that voice, but I really can't put a finger on it right now.
Flying through the bush, flying through the bush, live, we gon' rock show, we gon' pop, we gon' rock.
Success comes so easy for you.
Down the trees, I choose to feel good.
With me, wonder what you wanna do.
Okay, that was number 13, Parasail, and I feel like this one definitely kind of relates more to the song which is currently at the very top of the list, which is My Eyes. This one was definitely, you know, more psychedelic, or dream poppy, which is the elements I love. You know, that guitar in the background playing those single strum chords was lovely. But again, the production was just unbelievable. And I recognize who it was. Let me check who that was actually. Okay, so that was Young Lean. Yeah, I thought I recognized the name. I know Young Lean from Agony. Again, I've not heard too much from Young Lean, but yeah, from that, you know, I might have to check out more of his stuff because he sounded really good. And it's another one of those late night 3 a.m. drive kind of songs, you know, your mind drifts away, very relaxing, very melancholic. I did really like that one, but I'm gonna put it in and re-listen for now, just because, yeah, I want to give it a few more goes. There was kind of a lot going on in that song at times, and although I did really like it, I want to give it a few more listens because, yeah, I'm not sure if I'll like it as like a standalone song or whether it kind of has to be played in the context of the album. Like I said, it gave me those like 3 a.m. late night drive vibes, so I'm sure I will like it, but I'm gonna give it a few more goes. But yeah, what I think I definitely will do though is I'll check out more stuff from Young Lean because he sounded really good. I really like his voice and the tone that he was using. You know what? No, I've changed my mind. I'm going to put it straight in my playlist. I just gave it another sort of short listen and I do really like it. So yeah, I'm going to put that one straight to my playlist. And let's move on to number 14. At number 14, we have SKITZO.
Be me, I move at night when they really can't see me. I ran it back last time, but it ain't last time. I got so much around the house, I had to hide mine. Talk, watch it burn your soul off. I took them out of office, now they work for me. Now I'm trying to tell you what I need, somebody do that deal. Late at night and hungry, ratchet, can you do that deal? Bling, bling, I get a rush every time I see some diamonds. She get it up, she gon' bounce it like a trampoline. Keep up with swag, she be fresher than a mannequin. All type of bags in the closet like she married me. Princess cuts, diamonds, I got plenty. Lift it up, add that like linen. And she got a rollie on her leg too. And it's plain gold, it's a spade too. Peep the way they lookin', we getting richer than a bookie. Big me, I move at night when they really can't see me. Without going deep, Shakespeare took the squad, brought the play right here. Got the vision and I made that clear. Up from 1JH with the braids, with the lights, with the hype. Gonna smoke, but I can't stay away. See top 10 pin list, I don't even know how they could pin this. Knowing that I'm the human Pinterest. Need over ice so expensive. Hair long, not no extensions. Money long, shit is extended. I said you need me now. I said you need me now. You need me. Stick to the code, binary like eyes and nose. I'm too exposed, I gotta keep curtains closed. And it is what it is, that's just how it goes. Pure session, I just kept progressing, finally found the flow. My dog just got freed out the precinct. Hit it in my bag, let's hit Turks for the weekend. Yeah, 6 a.m. that hit my alarm clock. You see the vision, this shit non-stop. Gotta keep my palms hot, no chrome hot. I cut some off, I had to better myself. Against the odds, I bet on myself. I was thinking that we both could be rich. I guess it's one-sided, I'm always in their ear. I'm enticing.
Yeah, that was number 14, SKITZO, and yeah, I lost count of how many beat switches there were in that one. But I feel like this one is going to be a bit of an instant classic for most people. Yeah, the longest song on the album by over 6 minutes, which is quite rare for a Travis Scott song. Don't usually go on for that long. But the reason for that is because there's so many beat switches, like four or five verses there from Travis Scott as well, which is a lot. Had Young Thug in there as well. He sounded great verse as well. Yeah, a few things to pick out there. I definitely have to listen to it a few more times because it was such a long song, so many different beat switches going on. Definitely have to listen to that one a few more times. I did hear a lyric in there about saying he's yay over Biden, so I know who he's voting for in the next presidential election. But yeah, I feel like this will be a classic because it's a lot of content, it's a lot of stuff in there. 4 beat switches, 3 or 4 beat switches, 4 verses from Travis Scott, Young Thug feature. I do really like the latter stages of this song. The last 2 beat switches feel really great. Obviously, I don't know who's in the rest of the album because he doesn't list his features, but I feel like this one really reminded me of the song Radar by JID from his newest album, where he had like 3 or 4 different beats going on, loads of different flows, And I just couldn't help but feel like on a song like this, JID would have just been absolutely fantastic. I don't know whether we'd ever see a JID and Travis Scott collab. Yeah, I think overall this song was really great. And like I said, I think it's going to be an instant classic. I think it's got a lot of replayability to it. So I think that, yeah, for that reason, it's going to go straight to my playlist. Okay, we're coming to the end of the album now, but let's move on to number 15. It's called Lost Forever.
Have you ever been lost? Have you ever been lost? Forever.
Lost on islands, driven in both cars. Just bring your girl, feel like she both ours. Out to go up a level of disrespectful. I'm just one chain away from going heavy metal. On my rebels, too much power, too many hours. All in a day, I sent the flowers. Ain't talking roses, I'm talking milder. Ask if she
the beat is crazy.
Took her through the hills at noon. She felt the you know you in, now I follow. How many chickens fit in the coop? She jump up, bounce back like trampoline.
Hey yo, whip the cocaine to the pop bus. You was on the porch, I was locked up. Face, watch the motherfucker blow. Daytona, different color face on the road. Dior trench shit, hate to the flow. Dior goggles, I ain't playing with your roles. Fashion week, I'ma shrimp 2 bitches. 100 round drum, make a nigga go get it.
Hyping up the building, hyping up the site. Whip got the wings of Angel Kit. I've been wanting this shit my whole life, but didn't pray for it. Took her off the O into the D, she ain't take offense. Way we got it bouncing off the boards, we making prints. Wait until I step into the floor, then make commence.
Okay, so that was Lost Forever with Westside Gunn and James Blake. I mentioned James Blake earlier, actually, in the reaction when I was talking about Bon Iver, so it's good to see him in this one as well. I'm not sure if he's been in any previous ones, but he was in this one. And this one, I thought the beat was unbelievable, like especially at the start. Oh, I thought the beat was crazy. I think the only problem I had with it is that a bit like the one with Sway Lee and The Weeknd, I feel like it didn't really go anywhere, you know, from where it started. It kind of stayed in a lane. But I still think it's a really good song. I just think that maybe I need to give it a few more listens because, yeah, I don't know. It was quite a lot going on there, and I wasn't the biggest fan of Westside Gunn's verse on my first listen, but yeah, I think I might have to give it just a couple more goes because, yeah, I really like the beat. I think the instrumental is crazy, especially at the start. Yeah, it kind of lost me a little bit towards the end, so I'll give that one, I'll put it in re-listen, and I'll give that one a few more listens and see how I feel, but I think it's a very solid song. Just, yeah, I think out of the ones we've heard so far, maybe it's one of the weaker ones, but as you can see from the screen, like, there's not been a song on here that I haven't liked yet. So yeah, I'll give it a few more listens and see how I feel then. And let's move on to number 16, which is called Love.
I get it, love, they love me long time. I get it, love, they love me long time.
Y'all feel like that? Y'all feel like that?
We got spot.
Beat feels really recognizable, but I can't put a finger on where I've heard it before, but yeah, it sounds really familiar.
To the block, rolling through the club, we feeling the love.
Y'all feel like that? Y'all feel like that?
They love me, yeah, they love me long time. They love me, let her show me love. Come and kick back with us. This is new religion, come and have mass with us. Tell me how you made love to a bachelor, turning bad. So they used to grow up in the back of us. Don't go tell my mama about this, baby, hold up. We gon' own the summer, never stressing, no, we always hit the numbers. Drunk something, trying to find my keys. I find myself looking down at the stars that be. Stars I try to dime, but now it's time. Baby, now it's time to give me the dub. Like, I get it, love. They love me long time. I get it, love. They love me long time.
The night is too young and the love in the air hit me. All the vibes up in every city. Gamble with your life. Think about it, what it to your homie to the night. You don't want it with him. Get it? Never lie, rectified on the mission. And they looking down, but they didn't.
Okay, that was number 16, Love. And very interesting, actually, that Kid Cudi came in right at the end because I was trying to work out where I kind of recognize that sound from, and you know, I feel like it's quite familiar, although it feels new but also familiar. And the things that's going on in my head, I was thinking of Kanye West's Fade. It felt a little bit like that. But then I was also thinking back to like Indicud by Kid Cudi. Before he even came on, I was thinking of Indicud and like Burn Baby Burn. Then I was also thinking of Baptized in Fire from his album Passion, Pain and Demon Slaying, which had Travis Scott on it. And that was in my head before he even came in. So the fact that he came in at the end, it wasn't even much of a shock really, because I just felt like it was a Kid Cudi song. It definitely felt akin to that. Yeah, very recognizable beat. I'm not too sure how I feel about it, to be honest. Like, I think it's a really cool song, but it just felt, it might have been because I was trying to figure out the whole time what I recognized it from. But yeah, it felt very familiar. It felt like something I've heard before. And it is a bit of a shame that Kid Cudi came in right at the end, didn't have much more of a verse, because I did like his part at the end, like that, especially wearing headphones. Like, it just, you know, it was like a 4D sound. It was coming round both ears. So yeah, I really like that part at the end. Just wish he kind of had a bit more of an impact on the song. Yeah, whereas most of these have been kind of Kanye West influence, and there was definitely elements of it on here. There's a few parts in that song actually where Travis Scott's vocals were very reminiscent of Kanye, but this one definitely felt a bit more Kid Cudi influenced. And obviously he came in at the end. But yeah, I mentioned Indicud and Passion, Pain and Demon Slaying, and of course we've had the Scotts as well, the song from them both. But yeah, maybe we'll see a whole feature-length album from the two of them. I really did like the Scotts. I thought that was a cool song, so I'm hoping we do see more of them in the future. I think they're a great combo. I just wish Kid Cudi had more of like a part on this. But yeah, that sample is really driving me crazy. I was just seeing that it's produced by Pharrell Williams as well, which makes sense because it's very bouncy, very catchy, which Pharrell is fantastic at doing. But yeah, like a really catchy number. I think I just need to give it a couple more listens, because yeah, I'm not entirely sure right now how I feel about it. But yeah, I definitely like it. It's not a song which I don't enjoy. I just think I need to give it a few more listens. But yeah, really cool to see Kid Cudi back. And let's see what the final 3 songs have in store for us. At number 17, we have K-pop, which I'm pretty sure did release a week or two ago. I just chose not to listen to it because I thought I'd wait for the whole album to come out. So yeah, this one is called K-pop.
Switch. Move that shit out here. We gon' find out again. Think I gotta find out again. Behind the tent, I said I've been convinced.
Hace tiempo no te veo. Ya no tengo hora rodeo. Ahora en la G-Wagon me posteo. Ey, loca, yo bien loco.
You feel like that night was just so far. I need you back soon.
Mix the drugs with the pain. Let the waves lead the way. You know I'm rolling my face up. You know I'm high off the K-pop. Mommy, you love me. You can tell me you love me.
You go back on this song when she get back cool.
Okay, that was number 17, K-pop. Yeah, a bit of a weird one, really. I'm actually quite glad that I didn't listen to this before I heard the album. If I heard this a week ago, I probably would not have been that excited, to be honest. I'd be a bit worried about what the content of the music would be on the album, because I don't feel like it's a very fair reflection of what we've heard so far. It feels very left field, you know. It feels very different to what we have heard on the previous 16 songs. And yeah, it's a weird choice to, considering he only released one single, and you know, there's 19 songs on here and he only released one single during the build-up, which is a strange choice to pick this one from like a music point of view. But from a commercial point of view, it definitely makes sense, because he's got pretty much 2 of the biggest artists in the world in Bad Bunny and The Weeknd. So, you know, it's like a guaranteed hit at that point. It's guaranteed to be played on the radio. It's a guaranteed summer song, I suppose, because it was quite, the beat was quite reminiscent of like Texco Green by Drake last year. See, I understand what the purpose of the song was. I'm sure it brought a lot of eyes to the album. I'm sure it introduced a lot of more Spanish speaking countries, which makes up a large demographic of music listeners. I'm sure it introduced like a whole new audience to Travis Scott. So yeah, I understand why, but this one definitely just felt like it kind of feels like a marketing ploy more than the actual song itself. It's almost like the record label were like, you know, it's a brilliant idea, you know, you've got all the contacts in the industry, let's get the 2 biggest artists together for a song. It's great publicity, you're going to get a worldwide reach, you're going to introduce more fans to it, get more eyes on the album. So I understand why, But yeah, it's not a bad song. Like, it's just not for me. It's not really my cup of tea. Like, I wouldn't go out my way to listen to this kind of music. Half the song was also in Spanish, which I don't speak, so I didn't really understand what was being said by Bad Bunny. I'm not the biggest fan of his either, but I've also never really listened to him that much, so I can't really say too much. But yeah, another Weeknd song, which is a shame because it kind of feels like a wasted feature at that point, considering we've only seen him on one other song. So yeah, I understand why this song exists, but for me, yeah, just nothing interesting about it really. I would choose to listen to this. I'd skip it, but it definitely feels like a radio song. I can't blame him for doing something like this. I don't begrudge him at all. I feel like in terms of the actual album, it doesn't fit on the album. Whereas we've had a lot of different genres blended and mixed together, they've all kind of still felt like they're a part of the album, but this one feels very abstract. It feels very left field, like I said. So yeah, for that reason, I'm gonna put it not for me, because I don't think it's a bad song. It's just not my kind of song, and I don't think it's Travis Scott's audience's kind of song either. Unfortunately, these songs are quite necessary if you want to keep growing, you want to keep expanding. You need to have collaborations and songs like this, you know, because I think other than this, there's not really been any radio-friendly songs, and although obviously not that many people listen to radio anymore, that's the best way to get into the charts. So I imagine out of all of these songs, which one's going to chart? I'd imagine this one and probably the one with Beyonce is probably the songs that are more likely to chart, because, you know, the more poppy stuff usually ends up on the charts. So I understand why it happened and why this song exists. Fair play for doing it. I'm sure it got great exposure. It's by far the most popular song on the album right now, but it does have the luxury of being released 2 weeks or a week ago. So yeah, I understand why it exists, but for me, I don't like it. Okay, now let's move on to the penultimate song on the album, which is called Telekinesis.
Used to wanna fucking R&B bitch and that shit happened.
Yeah, I got Future, okay.
Used to wanna be rich and it finally happened. Thought it made me happy. Niggas tryna clone me, run out with my swag. For selling cocoa, got Chanel on my jet. The pro code, just preach for these bands. And I know I'm due for $1 billion advance.
I can see the future, I can see the future. I can't wait to live in glory and eternity. Might as well turn up now. He gon' pop up unannounced to the trumpets. Do you like the way it sounds? You know the future of the bounce. So loud, I can hear the crowd so loud. I can see the future, yeah. I can see the future, it's looking like we level through the sky.
My bitch with my hoe ain't got no chill. You demons clear when they call. Lights on the earth, so I had to name myself a planet. I in the hills trying to avoid any madness. Private on the lyric, it's just like we imagine. Only sell out because my fame. Bitch said she ashamed to love me in public, rather go private. You either get into money or you gossip. She chose her put on the stroll, now she lied.
I can't get enough. You ain't been doing enough. So go. You can see the future is a sparkle in your eye when you all up on my thigh. Can't let you niggas pose and I can't feel no heat. Diamonds dancing on me. How can I sleep with you? I'll get your body. That's I'd rather fuck on you than fuck on lames. I did some shit in Berlin, I'm all day. We both ain't shit and it's working for me.
Yeah, that was the penultimate song, Telekinesis, featuring Future and SZA. And yeah, SZA coming in with the Marvin's Room flow right at the very end there. Yeah, again, I'm not really too sure how to feel about this one. I mean, I really like the tone of it, and I like placement in the album. Obviously, we're coming to the end. You're going to get a slow song. Future and Travis always really work well together. You know, some of my favorites from them, like we've had Solitaires, which I mentioned earlier, High Fashion, and the other song on his 2018 album is called First Off. So yeah, they got a bit of a history together. I've always appreciated the the music they make together. I really like the first, I don't know what, I think it was in the first minute or so, it really reminded me of Hold My Liquor. There was some sounds coming in that sounded like Hold My Liquor. And again, it's one of those songs again that I feel like could have gone somewhere. Hearing those like Blood on the Leaves horns coming in and like it exploding would have been, I feel like, a perfect use of this song. But I'm not too mad at the way it stayed, because yeah, we've not really heard a lot of this kind of music from Travis Scott, this really slow stuff. And I feel like Future and SZA, getting them together was a perfect combo. And once again, I just checked, it is produced by Kanye West, this one. So it's a shame that we haven't had a Kanye West feature, because I feel like he would have done really well on a song like this. But what really makes me happy though is that because a lot of this album is produced by Kanye West and there is an obvious influence from his previous stuff, especially Yeezus, it does give me a bit of a warm feeling inside, being like, okay, Kanye West has still got it. He still likes to make this kind of music. So I feel like Yeezus was ahead of its time, and if it got released now, I feel like it would be super, super popular. And this is probably the closest thing we're going to get to another Yeezus so far from what we've heard. Obviously, one song left, but from what we've heard so far, it definitely does feel like it. But its own variation. It doesn't feel like a rip-off. It feels like its own variation. And the fact that Kanye West is producing this music just means that, you know, it's not a direct copy. It's his own version of it. Yeah, Telekinesis, I appreciate it for what it is. I do like it. I like the features. I thought the instrumentation was crazy. And yeah, I really love that flow at the end by SZA. For that reason, I'm going to put it straight into my playlist. I like it. It's a bit different from what we've heard on this album. Gives it more variety. And yeah, always good to hear SZA. She's got a fantastic voice. Yeah, Future as well, done really well. And I think maybe it dragged on a little bit too much. Maybe I didn't think it needed to be as long as it actually is. It could have been a bit shorter, but I still really liked it, and I'm glad that we have this kind of song on this album. Okay, that leaves us with one final song on the album, and it is called Till Further Notice.
Where will you go now that you're done with me? Where will you go now that you're done with me? Why won't you even talk about it, or even hear about it, or even
James Blake, I think.
like the covers.
Okay.
Come off in the heat.
First Metro song.
It's alright. I should have waited somehow. I shouldn't have pushed so hard.
Oh, this beat is mad.
My mama always told me put yourself first. I don't really fall in love with women, man, cause love hurt. I hit a couple broads, I can't lie, put my dick first. I should've treated you better. Used to deal with lames till she ran into a stepper. Oh, never knew that I had to propose. No, I was fine with you being one of my hoes.
Now that you're done.
Oh.
X-rated, this how we made it. Drinking a balance of patience, watch how you take it. See red and blues, I hit the pavement. Got low, got vacant. She needed angles, I need angels. I'm fighting Satan. I'm trying to feel the shade of greatness by celebrating. Bring entertainment, going brainless, like going dumb. On that iron, take a sip. I've been going off the rip. I've been bumping more cold, play the world cold as shit. Always knew she always on one, and I can bear it. Yeah, I can bear it.
Till further I'll keep you posted.
Okay, that was the final song on the album, Till Further Notice. And I always say that I feel like ending an album is one of the hardest things to do, because it's kind of like your last memory of the album particularly, and if it's bad, it can leave a bit of a different sort of viewpoint on the album in its entirety, so it can taint what could be a good album. I think the last song is really important, and I must say, I think this song is probably the best sounding song on the entire album. I don't think it's a coincidence that Metro Boomin is the producer, because I do think he is one of the best producers in the industry right now. I don't know, it's something about his music, his production, I don't know what it is, but I think this one's the best sounding song. On top of that, you got the James Blake vocals, which were beautiful. You've got 21 Savage, who we saw him earlier, where it was more of a light-hearted song, a bit funnier, but this one, you know, this is definitely what we heard from 21 from his album back in, I think it's 2018, I'm Greater Than I Was. And on that album, it was a lot more introspective into him as a person, his relationship with women and his mother and things like that. So, and this one definitely alluded more towards the more relationship side of 21, his more insecurities and the reason why he's not loyal and things like that. And I like seeing that side of 21 because he does have that in him. He obviously has that like goofy, more laid back, funny side of him. And he's also known for his funny one-liners, but these kinds of verses is what I like to see from him, you know, that deeper look into him as a person and an artist, because that just makes you, it just helps you relate to that person more and see them in a different light. I think this whole song is just a perfect encapsulation of the album itself, really, you know, everything from the hooks to the beats to the production, the features. This song was like a good representation of all of the album, really. Yeah, like I said, I think it's the best sounding song. All, like, you know, from a production point of view, just I think from everything, I think it's the best sounding song. Not only that, it's a great way to end an album because it's called Till Further Notice. The song's talking about what you're going to do now that we're done, now that it's finished, what you're going to do after Utopia, and also, you know, alluded to the fact that you're going to hear again from Travis with new music, but until further notice kind of thing. So I also think it's one of the best closing songs I've heard on an album for a very, very long time. And this one, whereas a lot of the other songs, you kind of felt an influence from, you know, whether it be Drake or Kanye West or Andre 3000, Kid Cudi, whatever. This one, I feel like, was more Travis. It definitely felt more unique to him. Yeah, I mean, just Metro Boomin just keeps getting better and better. He honestly is like an incredible producer. Yeah, it's really exciting to see how his career is growing. And also looking at someone like James Blake, who his career is just more and more heavily involved in the sort of hip-hop industry, and obviously 21 as well. We saw a different side of him on his last album. We've not seen him really since then. It's been about 5 years nearly since the album came out, so I'm hoping to see more from him. We saw him with Drake and a few collaborative albums with Metro in the past, but as a standalone album, just him, we haven't seen for a while. So yeah, this was I think a great encapsulation of all these artists that are all on the come up. I think they're all getting better and better, and I think it's the perfect way to finish what I think could be argued as one of Travis's best albums, honestly. Obviously still early days, we'll talk about that more in a minute, but initial impressions is that this is a very great album. And I will say that the final song on here, Till Further Notice, I think it's a tough one, but I honestly think this is one of the best songs on the album, and I think it's one of the best songs from Travis Scott, so I'm going to put it right at the top. And yeah, I'm very impressed with what I've heard. So as you can see there, before we get into the final review of the album, this is the final standings for the tier list. You can see we've got one song in the Not For Me tier, which was the Bad Bunny and Weekend song, which, yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of, to be honest. It wasn't really for me. I understand why it exists, but it's just not for me. Got a few songs in the re-listen. Now, these ones I will listen to again and just get another viewpoint from how I feel about it, but initial impressions is that the songs there are good. They're not bad songs. I just need to give them a few more listens, which I will do quite soon. And then you can see the large majority of the songs on here straight into my playlist. It is quite a big album, 19 songs, and yeah, majority of them have gone straight to my playlist, which basically means that from first impressions I really like them, and I'm gonna be listening to them over and over again. And then you can see at the top we have two songs, My Eyes and Till Further Notice. So yeah, these two I think are two of the best songs on the album, and in my opinion I think they are some of Travis's best work. I really did like My Eyes. I don't know if other people are going to like that one. I feel like I like that more because it was a bit more dream poppy, bit alluded more to like the indie folky sort of sound. I really liked the Bon Iver influence on this song. So yeah, whether people like it as much as I do, I don't know, but for me that's one of my favorites. And then Till Further Notice, yeah, we just spoke about that one. Yeah, incredible song. So that was Travis Scott's Utopia, an album that feels like it's taken forever to come out, and there's been so many leaks and rumors of the album coming out over the years, but it's finally been dropped nearly 5 years after Astro World came out. So a long wait for people for new Travis Scott music. He's had a very topsy-turvy few years in his own personal life and as a musician, and we haven't seen too much of him in terms of features until recently because of all the stuff that happened. So it's really good to see him back and see him back in his prime. And yeah, I feel like a lot of these songs have been written for a long time. I feel like the influence from people like Kanye West and Yeezus, Drake, Andre 3000, Kid Cudi, I feel like all of these songs, they a lot of these probably were written quite a long time ago, especially the one with Metro Boomin. I imagine that one was probably written a little while ago. So yeah, I feel like these have had a lot of time to be worked on, to marinate with him, and it does feel like 19 songs that were carefully selected for a particular reason. Whether that reason was for like commercial success, like songs of K-pop, or to songs like Till Further Notice, which gave us an introspective look at different artists in a fantastically produced song. And yeah, I feel like all these songs had a purpose, they had a reason to be on the album. There was nothing on here which I felt out of place, and I think everything flowed really well. The production was amazing. I think the biggest takeaway from this, I think the biggest talking point will be the Kanye West influence. It had so many elements of not just Yeezus, but My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. You could even say there's a few from Life of Pablo, like Love, which really reminded me of Fade, but also reminded me of Kid Cudi stuff like Indie Kid and Passion, Pain and Demon Slaying. But I think Kanye's influence is really apparent on this album. There has been a lot of conversations in the past about Travis Scott's influence. Of course, he worked on Yeezus. That was one of his first projects he was ever involved in, and it's been clear since that day that Kanye had such a big impact on his career that this one feels almost like an homage to that era and that album, which, let's be honest, came out way too early. Wrong time, I think it came out, because when Yeezus dropped, people didn't like it, they didn't understand it, but now you can see the influence it has had in hip-hop, trap music since then. It has had such a wide influence and such an impact on the music we listen to now. Even people like Playboi Carti, you know, take so much from Yeezus that it was really cool to see an album which took the ideas of Yeezus and the influence and almost brought it into a different light. It had its own spin on it, its own personality. It felt like a Travis Scott album. It did not feel like a Kanye West album, despite a lot of these songs being produced by Kanye West. Maybe that was one of the reasons why Kanye didn't feature on the album, literally didn't feature, because he didn't want to take away from Travis Scott. It didn't want to feel like a Kanye West album. If you don't look at the credits from who produced it, you wouldn't know it's a Kanye West song. Yeah, it might have elements of it where you can go, oh, it sounds like it's been produced by Kanye, but there's no branding anywhere. There's no signage anywhere which relates to Kanye West. So this is very much a Travis Scott album. It pertains to him as an artist more. It doesn't feel like it's a Kanye West ripoff. It just feels like it's a adaptation of an already existing idea, which I think takes a lot to do. It's very hard to do. Helps if you have someone like Kanye West producing your music, because obviously he was there during the year Yeezus and he was the inventor of stuff like this. But yeah, it definitely felt like a Travis Scott project. It felt like something that took 5 years to make. It felt like this has been in the work for a long time. It didn't feel like something that was rushed. Yeah, it's kind of disappointing when you have to wait that long for an album, but when it does arrive and it is to the quality of this, I think you'd much rather have quality over quantity. You know, Travis Scott could easily drop an album every year, 2 albums a year, and you know, that's what we've been saying to people like Drake. We know people like Drake can make music of this quality, and again, his influence was very apparent on here as well. Even the last song with SZA, where she had the Marvin's Room melody, and you know, it is so apparent that these two figureheads in Kanye West and Drake have had such a impact. But I feel like where Drake, you know, not to make this video about Drake, but where Drake could take something from Travis is, you know, don't release 2 albums a year. Work on albums. Make it a 3-year wait between albums like it used to be, because that's when they have their best qualities. And although Travis Scott's album, this Utopia, may have been a symptom of, you know, all the allegations that happened and all the fallout from Astro World, maybe that was the reason why we had to wait 5 years. But I still think 3 to 4 years is more than enough to work on an album and produce something of this quality. And you know, that's just so obvious in the things like the production. You know, all these songs felt quality. I'd say the only song which I didn't feel like had that great of a production style was actually K-pop, which is probably going to be the most popular song on here, which is funny because that felt like the most rushed. Would not surprise me if this one was written after the album and just sort of squeezed in to suit that commercial side of things, which again is completely understandable. I don't begrudge him. It doesn't change my opinion on Travis or anyone who worked on the album or the album itself, because I understand why something like that needs to exist. But yeah, that one definitely felt a bit shoehorned in. It didn't feel like it was part of the original project. Features, you know, we had the whole Avengers cast on here. We had 21, we had Drake, we had Beyonce, we had Bad Bunny, we had The Weeknd, we had Sway Lee, we had Kid Cudi, Future, Young Thug, Young Lean, just off the top of my head, Playboi Carti, Sheck West. You know, we had so many people in this album, and but it didn't feel like they took too much away from Travis Scott. I always felt like Travis Scott was the forefront of every song. He dominated every song, and it didn't feel like a collaboration between people. You know, even when you had 3 features on a song, Travis still had the majority of the airtime, which I think is very important, because you don't want it to feel like a collaboration album with other people. It didn't feel like that. It felt like a Travis Scott album, which is refreshing, and I'm very glad it went this way. And this album definitely could have gone very sideways, you know, because there was such a high expectation. It's been built up for so long, and that's not even really due to Travis Scott's fault. It's more like us as fans who've had this expectation, because Astro World was so good and it was such a success. You wanted him to go one step further, and to do that is very hard. I think you have to say it did survive the hype. I think it exceeded expectations, at least for me. I wasn't expecting it to be this good, because I was just presuming that there was too much riding on it. There was too much sort of pressure on all the stuff that he's been through over the last few years, and the added expectation of the fans, I feel like might have harmed it in some sort of way. But just in my opinion, I think this album's incredible. I think it's one of the best albums of the year. I of course haven't heard every album, but definitely one of my albums of the year. And yeah, I went into it quite low expectations, I'd say, because again, like what I just said, you know, I feel like there was a lot riding on this album, but I feel like he smashed it out of the park. I think everyone involved has done very well. Too many producers to list and count, but all the features, all the producers, everyone behind the scenes created a fantastic album. And I think this will go down as one of Travis Scott's better albums, although I don't think he has a bad album per se. But yeah, he's one of the rare, I suppose he's one of the rare examples of artists that don't really have a bad album. You can like some more than others, but I don't think he has had a catastrophic album where a lot of artists have. You know, even Kanye West, you know, Jesus is King, Donda 2 did not perform very well. He hasn't had that sort of album, and I can't imagine he will if he keeps going at this pace, going at this trajectory. If he makes us wait another 3 years for an album, cool. I don't think he will have that massive come down as long as he keeps keeping up this quality, because it's apparent that he's unbelievably talented. A lot of these songs were produced by him as well, so yeah, he definitely feels like one of the best artists in the game at the moment. It's just really refreshing to see him come back. It's good to see him back in his game, and yeah, let's hope it doesn't take that long for a new album. But if it does take another 3 years, I don't think any of us can moan, because it's proved that no matter how long he makes us wait, he still delivers. Yeah, I probably spoke way too much there, but yeah, you can gauge my opinion that I do really like this album. But I'm very interested in hearing what you think of the album, what your favorite songs are. Do you think it matched the hype? Do you think it exceeded expectations? Let me know in the comments below. Very interested in hearing what you thought of the album. And yeah, this video's come out a bit later than other reaction channels, so it's had a bit more time to marinate now. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Just want to say a big thank you if you've made it this far for watching the video. I'll have a lot more content like this coming up in the future. A lot of album reactions, a lot of tier lists, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be expanding my content going forward. And yeah, I hope to post more regularly on this channel as well. So if you are interested in watching more from me, seeing more reactions, then please feel free to subscribe. Like I said, thank you very much for watching the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a nice day.